have a poem by Ogden Nash about wisdom, and it goes, God in his wisdom made the fly and then forgot to tell us why.
So this may date me, but I'd like to start off by quoting lyrics from a 1950s musical, Gigi. Here are an older couple, played by Marie Chevalier and Hermione Gingold, reminiscing about how they met. We met at 9. We met at 8. I was on time. No, you were late. Ah, yes, I remember it well. We dined with friends. We dined alone. A tenor sang, a baritone. Ah, yes, I remember it well. And it goes on like that, but you get the idea. Two people of a certain vintage have different recollections of a significant event in their lives. The first part of Deuteronomy features Moses telling his version of the story of the Exodus from Egypt and the wanderings in the desert. And if we use the third-person narrative in Exodus and Numbers as the authoritative source, we find some significant discrepancies. In Exodus 18:13, Moses' father-in-law, Yitro, sees Moses acting as judge for all the people's disputes and says, quote, "The thing you are doing is not right. You will surely wear yourself out," unquote. He then suggests that Moses appoint capable men who fear God, trustworthy men who spurn ill-gotten gain, and have them resolve minor disputes and only bring the difficult matters to Moses. Moses follows his advice. In Deuteronomy 1:9, Moses says, "I said to you, I cannot bear the burden of you myself," and then tells the people to pick judges to hear minor disputes, and they agree. There is no mention of Yitro. In Numbers 13:1, we read, quote, "The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, 'Send men to scout the land of Canaan,'" unquote. But in Deuteronomy 1:22, Moses says, quote, "Then all of you came to me and said, 'Let us send men ahead to reconnoiter the land,'" unquote. So in Moses' version, the impetus for the ill-fated scouting expedition comes not from God, but from the people. And here is the original version of the report of the scouts in Numbers 13:27-33. And this is slightly abbreviated. "The land you sent us to does indeed flow with milk and honey, but the people who inhabit the country are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We saw the Nephilim there, and we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them." In Deuteronomy 1:25, here is the total report of the scouts according to Moses. Quote, "It is a good land that the Lord our God is giving us." Period. End of report. In Numbers 14:5, after the report is given, the people rebel, refuse to go forward to Canaan, and say to one another, "Let us go back to Egypt." And what is the response of Moses and Aaron? They fall on their faces and say nothing. It is left to Joshua and Caleb to try and convince the people to change their mind. Yet in Deuteronomy 1:29, Moses remembers giving an impassioned, eloquent speech telling the people, quote, "Have no fear of them. None other than the Lord your God will fight for you," unquote. Finally, in Deuteronomy 1:37, Moses finishes his version of the fiasco with the scouts as follows. "Because of you, the Lord was incensed with me too, and said, 'You shall not enter the promised land either.'" But has he forgotten what happened in Numbers 20:12? Miriam has died, and the people are without water and very upset. God tells Moses to talk to the rock, but instead, in a fit of anger, he bangs on it. God immediately reprimands him, saying, "Because you did not trust me enough to affirm my sanctity in the sight of the Israelite people, therefore you shall not lead this congregation into the land I have given them." So what are we to make of all these discrepancies between the original record of events and Moses' version? Is he purposely lying to make himself look better, or is he misremembering the past? At the time of Moses' speech in Deuteronomy, He is 120 years old. Older adults are susceptible to false memories. Details of emotionally charged events become less reliable as time goes on. New experiences or information can distort previous implanted memories. Should we cut Moses some slack? And if Moses is misremembering and not outright lying, shouldn't we let him off the hook? Orthodox commentators seem not very interested in castigating Moses. Nahama Leibowitz asserts that, quote, what Moses did in our portion was interpret the history recounted in Numbers, unquote. But Rabbi Matthew Sofer disagrees, asking, how much liberty may we take when altering the narratives that construct our reality? And he adds, perhaps in this age of alternative facts and fake news, it behooves us to read Moses' story and the story that he alters with critical eyes and a rigorous pursuit of trustworthy reporting. And here's a final question to think about. When we realize somebody is not telling the truth about something that happened, perhaps because of misremembering, should we let it go? When Cousin Irv tells a different version of the birthday party incident than we remember, we can hold our tongues. When President Reagan, again, I date myself, confuses events in his movies with real life, we can roll our eyes and just laugh. But what about current politicians, teachers, police officers who are telling versions of events that we know are not correct? What about Moses? Here's the conclusion of Rabbi Jacqueline Mates Muchin. Quote, Moses should have been corrected. He might have been able to see that he was putting his pride before the truth. He might have been able to reflect on his anger and frustration over how his life was so greatly affected by the choices of the Israelites. If he could see all these things, he might have been able to figure out how to be at peace with some of them. What do you think? Thank you.